Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for being here today as we talk about a topic that is incredibly important for children, teens, and honestly, for adults too, and that is resilience. Whether you are a parent, a caregiver, educator, or someone who supports children in any capacity, you play a powerful role in shaping how children learn to handle challenges, setbacks, and emotions. Before I begin, I want to start with a brief reflection. Take a moment and think about a time when a child you notice in your life has struggled. Maybe they were frustrated, disappointed, overwhelmed, or trying something that felt hard. Pause for a second and think about this. What helped them move through that moment? Was it encouragement, support, someone being calm with them, or time to try again? That reflection connects us directly to what resilience actually is. Because resilience is not something children are born with or without, it is something that develops through experiences, through relationships, through opportunities to try, fail, recover, and try again. And the most important message that I want you to take away today is that resilience is built, not inherited. Now let's dive in. Let's start by defining what we mean when we talk about resilience. Resilience is the ability to adapt, recover, and grow in the face of stress or adversity. It is not something that children are simply born with or without. Instead, resilience is a dynamic process that develops over time. It can be taught, supported, and strengthened through experiences. Resilience is shaped by several factors, including relationships, the environment, and individual skills. This means adults play an important role in creating the conditions that allow resilience to grow. Looking at neuroscience behind the resilience helps us understand why this is true. When children experience stress, their brain activates what is known as the stress response system. This involves areas such as the amygdala, the hypothalamus, along with the release of cortisol, which is the body's primary stress hormone. This response is not harmful by itself. It's in fact experiencing some stress is a part of being considered normal and a part of normal development. What matters most is what happens next. Resilience is not about avoiding stress. It is about activating stress response and then recovering from it. That recovery process is where learning and growth occur. Another important part of the brain involved in resilience is the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex supports emotional regulation, decision making, and impulse control. However, this area of the brain develops gradually over time and is strengthened through experience. It grows through co-regulation with supportive adults, safe and predictable relationships, and opportunities to practice handling challenges. This means that when children learn regulation skills first with support, they do it before they can do it independently. Another important concept is neuroplasticity, which refers to the brain's ability to change through experience. Every interaction, challenge, and supportive moment shapes neural pathways. Supportive relationships are especially powerful because they buffer adversity and promote patterns in the brain that supports coping, emotional regulation, and resilience. All of this research helps us understand something very important. Resilience is not about toughness or avoiding difficulty. It is about how the brain develops through relationships, experiences, and opportunities to recover from stress with support. And the encouraging part is that resilience can be strengthened over time when children are given the right support and opportunities. Resilience is influenced by several systems: biological factors like sleep, movement, and nutrition, physiological factors like self efficacy and emotional awareness, social factors like relationships and belonging, environmental factors like safety, predictability, and opportunities for independence. One helpful framework comes from Dr. Kenneth Ginsburg called the Seven C's of Resilience. The first C is competence. Competence refers to developing real skills and abilities. When children have the opportunities to practice, make mistakes, and improve, they begin to feel capable in their environment. Competence grows through experience, effort, and mastery over time. The second C is confidence. Confidence is the belief in one's ability to succeed. It develops when children experience success after effort, not when things are always easy. Confidence is built through challenges that are achievable with support. The third C is connection. Connection refers to strong, supportive relationships with family members, teachers, peers, and caring adults. Feeling emotionally safe and supported is one of the most powerful protective factors for resilience. The fourth C is character. Character involves values, integrity, responsibility, and a sense of right and wrong. When children are given the opportunities to make choices, take responsibility, and learn from consequences, they develop a moral strength and personal integrity. The fifth C is contribution. Contribution means feeling useful and making a difference in the world. When children are able to help others, participate in meaningful tasks, and contribute to their community, they develop a sense of purpose and belonging. The sixth C is coping. Coping refers to healthy strategies for managing stress and emotions. This includes problem solving, emotional regulation, seeking help when needed, and using constructive ways to manage challenges. And the seventh C is control. Control is a sense of agency and influencing outcomes. Children develop control when they see that their actions matter, that their choices have an impact, and that they can affect what happens in their lives. Together, these seven areas create a foundation for resilience. They remind us that resilience is not about judging or toughness, it's about skills, relationships, opportunities, and supportive environments. Now that we understand what resilience is, it is important to recognize that resilience does not look the same at every age. It develops over time and is influenced by brain development, relationship, and experiences. Let's walk through what resilience looks like across the three major developmental stages. First, early childhood, which includes children approximately ages 2 through 5 years old. During this stage, the primary driver of resilience is autonomy and the early beginnings of emotional regulation. What resilience looks like in young children often includes trying again after failure, managing stress with support from adults, beginning to solve simple problems, using language to express feelings, and engaging in imaginative coping through play. From a brain development perspective, this is a period of early prefrontal cortex development. The brain areas responsible for regulation are still immature, which means emotional regulation is largely externalized. Children depend heavily on adults to help them calm, organize their feelings, and recover from stress. Protective factors during early childhood include predictable routines, opportunities for independence, and supportive, responsive adults who provide co regulation. The key message for this stage is simple. Resilience sounds like I am safe to try. Next is middle childhood, which includes children approximately ages 6 through 12 years old. During this stage, the primary driver of resilience shifts towards competency and self efficacy. Resilience may look like persistence in tasks, navigating peer relationships, mastering skills, feeling pride in accomplishments, and beginning to follow rules and internal values. Brain development during this stage includes significant growth in executive functioning. Children develop better attention, planning, organization, and cognitive flexibility, which allows them to approach challenges with more independence. Protective factors include positive school experiences, supportive teachers or mentors, and a sense of belonging among peers. The key message for this stage becomes I can do hard things. Finally, adolescence, which includes youth approximately ages 13 through 18 years old. During adolescence, the primary driver of resilience is identity formation and autonomy, balanced with continued connection to supportive relationships. Resilience may look like managing strong emotions more independently, recovering from social challenges or rejection, making decisions and learning from mistakes, developing personal values and independence, seeking support from trusted adults or peers, and persevering towards long term goals. From a brain perspective, adolescence is a time of rapid restructuring. The prefrontal cortex is still developing, while emotional and social sensitivity increases significantly. Risk taking is also more common during this period and is actually connected to learning and identity formation. Protective factors for adolescents include supportive relationships with adults, a sense of belonging and acceptance, opportunities for responsibility and leadership, and a safe space to explore identity and independence. The key message during adolescence becomes I know who I am and I can grow. Across all of these stages, there is one main takeaway that I want to emphasize. Resilience is built, not inherited. Children develop resilience through experiences, relationships, challenges, and support over time. And adults in their lives play a critical role in shaping these opportunities. Relationships play a central role in how resilience develops throughout life. Decades of research in developmental psychology and neuroscience consistently show that safe, stable, and nurturing relationships are one of the strongest factors for children. Early attachment in relationships particularly help buffer the effects of stress and support healthy brain development. Children are not meant to develop resilience on their own. Resilience develops through relationships first, through a process called co-regulation, before children are able to regulate themselves independently. Co-regulation happens when a caring adult helps a child manage emotions, calm the body, and recover from stress through connection, presence, and support. Over time, children begin to internalize these experiences and develop self-regulation skills. A key concept within this process is secure attachment. Secure attachment forms when caregivers are consistent, responsive, emotionally available, and predictable. When children experience this type of caregiving, they develop a strong sense of safety and trust. And that sense of safety is incredibly important because it gives children the confidence to explore their environment, try new things, take appropriate risks, and recover when challenges occur. When children feel secure in their relationships, they are more willing to face difficulties because they know support is available if they need it. These repeated experiences strengthen emotional regulation, build confidence, and lay the foundation for resilience. So let's say, for example, imagine a young child trying to build a tower with blocks. The tower keeps falling, and the child begins to feel frustrated. Maybe they cry, knock the blocks over, or say they cannot do it. In that moment, an adult might sit nearby and say something like, "Wow, that was really frustrating. You worked so hard on that tower. Let's take a breath together and try again." The adult is not removing the challenge. The tower still fell. But the adult is helping the child move through the emotional experience and return to problem solving. With that support, the child tries again. Maybe the tower stands this time, or maybe it does not. What matters most is that the child experienced challenge, emotion, support, and recovery. Over time, these repeated experiences teach the brain something powerful. I can handle hard things. I am not alone. I can recover and try again. And this is how resilience grows. So, in simple language, safe relationships teach the nervous system how to calm itself. Now, I want to talk a little more about the connection between relationships, the brain, and resilience, specifically through the concept of stress buffering. One of the most important findings of neuroscience is that relationships directly affect the brain's stress system.
This is often described as the stress buffering effect. When children experience stress, their bodies release cortisol, which is the primary stress hormone. This response is normal and necessary. However, what makes a significant difference is whether a child experiences that stress alone or with the support of a trusted adult. The presence of a caring, responsive adult acts as a buffer against stress. Research shows that supportive relationships can reduce cortisol levels, help children recover more quickly after distress, and support the development of emotional regulation systems in the brain. In simple terms, safe relationships help the nervous system learn how to calm itself.
Over time, when children repeatedly experience comfort, guidance, and reassurance from adults, their brains begin to internalize these regulatory patterns. This is a process which allows co regulation to gradually become self regulation. There's a strong research linking supportive relationships directly to resilience outcomes. Longitudinal studies, which follow children over many, many years, consistently find that children who have at least one stable and supportive adult in their lives show better coping skills, higher self esteem, lower rates of anxiety and depression, and greater adaptability when facing challenges or adversity. This is the stress buffering effect in action. Supportive relationships do not remove challenges from a child's life, but they reduce the negative impact of stress and help the child recover more effectively. In fact, one of the most well known findings in resilience research is this: a supportive relationship is with at least one caring adult the most single important factor in resilience. That means resilience is not just about individual toughness or personality, it grows within relationships. This is incredibly powerful because it reminds us that adults do not have to be perfect. What matters is them being present, responsive, and supportive. When children know someone is there for them, their brains and their confidence both grow stronger. So, let's now explore an important concept that helps us understand how resilience actually develops, and that is the idea of the optimal stress zone.
One common misconception is that resilience develops by protecting children from stress or by making things easy for them. But research shows the opposite. Resilience does not develop by avoiding stress. It develops when individuals experience manageable challenges with adequate support. The optimal stress zone is the range where stress is strong enough to promote growth, but not so overwhelming that it causes harm. We can think about this using three different zones. The first is the comfort zone. In the comfort zone, tasks may feel easy and familiar. Children can do them without much effort. Skills may be maintained, but they are not expanding. If children spend too much time in this zone, they may become bored or overly dependent on adults because they are not being challenged. The second zone is the optimal stress zone, sometimes called the growth zone. This is where challenges are slightly difficult, but still achievable. Support is available when needed, and effort persistence, and problem solving are required. This is the zone where learning, confidence, and resilience develop. Some key features of this zone include productive struggle, trial and error, and mastery that comes through effort rather than immediate success. This is where children begin to think, this is hard, but I can do it. The third zone is the toxic stress zone. This demands this occurs when demands exceed a child's coping capacity and little or no support is available. In this zone, overwhelm and anxiety increase, and the children may shut down or become highly distressed. Chronic exposure to toxic stress can negatively impact the brain development and emotional regulation systems.
So the goal is not to eliminate stress from children's lives. The goal is to keep challenges within that optimal zone where growth can happen safely. When adults provide encouragement, guidance, and emotional support, they help children stay within their growth zone and build resilience over time. Now, let's take a deeper look at how resilience actually develops from a scientific perspective. Traditionally, resilience is one of often described as individuals' ability to cope or bounce back after something difficult happened. But more recent research shows that resilience is actually the process of activating regulation across multiple levels, not just something that exists within one person. Adaptation to adversity involves interconnected systems working together. These systems include individual self regulation, co regulations within relationships, and regulations within broader environment, such as routines, predictability, and shared meaning. This perspective helps us understand that resilience does not happen in isolation. It develops through dynamic interactions between people and the systems around them. So let's go ahead and get started with emotional regulation.
Emotional regulation refers to the ability to monitor, adjust, and recover from emotional experiences in healthy ways. It supports important skills such as stress tolerance, decision making, problem solving, and social functioning. When someone can regulate their emotions, they are able to experience distress without becoming overwhelmed. That ability is strongly associated with resilience. But children are not born with strong regulation skills. This is where co regulation becomes essential. Co regulation is the ability to process by which a more regulated person helps another regulate their psychological and emotional state through connection, attunement, and support. For example, a caregiver soothing a distressed child, a teacher helping calm an anxious student, or a supportive adult sitting with someone while they process their emotions. In those moments, the adult is not just helping behavior, they are helping regulate the nervous system. Through repeated co regulation experiences, individuals gradually internalize these skills and develop self regulation capacities over time. The main takeaway here is very important. Self regulation develops from co regulation. Emotional regulation refers to the ability to monitor, adjust, and recover from emotional experiences in healthy ways. It supports important skills such as stress tolerance, decision making, problem solving, and social functioning. When someone can regulate their emotions, they are able to experience distress without becoming overwhelmed. That ability is strongly associated with resilience. But children are not born with strong self regulation skills. This is where co regulation becomes essential. Co regulation is the process by which a more regulated person helps another regulate their psychological and emotional state through connection, attunement, and support. For example, a caregiver soothing a distressed child, a teacher helping calm an anxious student, or a supportive adult sitting with someone while they process emotions. In those moments, the adult is not just helping behavior, they are helping regulate the nervous system. Through repeated co regulation experiences, individuals gradually internalize these skills and develop self regulation capacities over time. The main takeaway here is very important. Self regulation develops from co regulation. Emotional regulation refers to the ability to monitor, adjust, and recover from emotional experiences in healthy ways. It supports important skills such as stress tolerance, decision making, problem solving, and social functioning. When someone can regulate their emotions, they are able to experience distress without becoming overwhelmed. That ability is a strong association with resilience. But children are not born with strong self regulation skills. This is where co regulation becomes essential. Co regulation is the process by which more regulated person helps another regulate their psychological and emotional state through connection, attunement, and support. In those moments, the adult is not just helping behavior, they are helping regulate the nervous system. Through repeated co regulation experiences, individuals gradually internalize these skills and develop self regulation capacities over time. The main takeaway here is very important. Self regulation develops from co regulation.
Humans are biologically wired to regulate within relationships. So, when we talk about resilience, we are really talking about regulation across several systems. This include physiological regulations, which includes the nervous system balance, emotional regulation, which involves managing feelings, behavioral regulation, which involves action and choices, relational regulations, which comes from supportive interactions with others, and environmental regulations, which includes structures, routine, and predictability. Resilience, therefore, reflects the capacity of which these systems maintain or regain stability while adapting to challenge. This shifts the conversation from asking, how do people cope, to a more helpful question: how do individuals and relationships regulate together to support adaptation? And that shift is powerful because it reminds us that resilience is not something children must figure out alone. It is growth within relationships and supportive environments.
Mistakes and challenges play a critical role in developing resilience because they create opportunities for learning, adaptation, and skill development. When children and adults are supportive in viewing errors as a part of the learning process rather than signs of failure or inadequacy, they are much more likely to persist, try again, and improve over time. One helpful framework that explains this is the growth mindset theory developed by Carol Dweck. The growth mindset emphasizes that abilities are not fixed. They are developed through effort, strategy, and practice. From this perspective, mistakes are not something to avoid. They are actually useful. Mistakes provide information about what needs to improve. Effort strengthens competence, and challenges build confidence and persistence. When individuals believe their abilities can grow, they are more likely to respond to setbacks with problem solving rather than avoidance. We can see this in everyday situations. For example, at home, a child might be learning to tie their shoes. First, they struggle. They might feel frustrated or say they cannot do it. If an adult responded by saying, "It's okay, you're learning, let's try again together," the child receives the message that effort leads to progress. Over time, when they finally succeed, their confidence grows because they experience the challenge and the recovery. In a school setting, a student might make a mistake on a math assignment. If the focus is only on the wrong answer, the student may feel discouraged. But if a teacher frames it as, "This shows us that you're learning the next step," the mistake becomes a part of the growth rather than a failure.
These kinds of experiences help children learn something very important. Struggle does not mean I cannot do it. Struggle means I am learning. And that belief is foundational for resilience. It's important to recognize that while support is essential for building resilience, excessive protection or rescuing can sometimes unintentionally interfere with development. When adults consistently step in to prevent discomfort, solve problems immediately, or remove challenges altogether, children lose valuable opportunities to practice the skills needed for adaptation and recovery. Resilience develops through a process that includes challenge, effort, support, and recovery.
When over-rescuing happens, the effort and recovery phase are often removed. Children may not get the chance to struggle, problem solve, and experience success after effort, which are critical parts of building confidence and resilience. Overprotecting can lead to several unintended outcomes. Children may develop reduced problem solving abilities, lower frustration tolerance, increased dependency on adults, fear of failure, decreased confidence, and fewer opportunities to practice emotional regulation. Over time, children may begin to internalize a belief such as, "I can't handle this without help." This belief can contribute to anxiety, avoidance behavior, and learned helplessness. We can also understand the impact of over-rescuing through the lens of the 7 C's of resilience of what we just reviewed earlier. So, for example, competence develops when children practice skills and work through challenges. If adults solve problems for them, opportunities to build competence are reduced. Confidence grows when children experience success after effort. Over-rescuing can unintentionally communicate doubt in a child's ability, which weakens self belief. Connection is important, but when adults take too much, children's relationships can shift towards dependency rather than encouragement and trust. Character development through responsibility and learning from consequences. But overprotection may limit opportunities for children to make choices and learn accountability. Contribution comes from feeling useful and capable. If adults do too much of the tasks for the children, they may feel less able to contribute meaningfully. Coping develops when children experience manageable stress and learn strategies to handle emotions. Removing struggles removes opportunities to practice coping. And control or a sense of agency grows when children see that their actions influence outcomes. When adults manage everything, children may feel like they have little control over their experiences. The goal is not to remove support, the goal is to provide support in a way that still allows children to experience effort, problem solving, and recovery. When adults offer encouragement, guidance, and presence without immediately taking over, children develop the belief that they are capable and that they can handle challenges with support. And that belief is one of the most strongest foundations of resilience. As we think about how resilience develops, it is also helpful to consider some of the common barriers that can unintentionally limit a child's opportunity to build these skills. One of the biggest barriers is adult discomfort with big emotions. When children experience frustration, sadness, anger, or disappointment, it can be uncomfortable for adults to witness. Sometimes our instinct is to quickly fix the situation or remove the difficulty so the child feels better right away. While this response often comes from care and love, it can also reduce opportunities for children to learn how to move through difficult emotions with support. Another barrier is time pressure and performance culture. In busy environments, whether at home or at school, there may be a pressure to move quickly, complete tasks efficiently, and meet certain criteria or expectations. When time feels limited, adults may step in to do things for children simply because it is faster. However, when this happens repeatedly, children lose chances to practice problem solving, persistence, and independence. And another barrier is well intended, but it's limited language. For example, phrases like, "That's okay, I'll do it for you," or "Don't worry, this is too hard," may seem supportive in the moment, but they can unintentionally communicate doubt about a child's ability. And over time, children may begin to internalize the belief that they cannot do it on their own.
All of these barriers connect back to resilience development. When children are protected from manageable struggles, they miss the opportunity to experience effort, recovery, and confidence building. The goal is not to remove support. The goal is to provide support while still allowing children to engage with challenges in a developmentally appropriate ways. As you think about your own experiences, I invite you to reflect on this question. Which of these feel most familiar to you? There is no judgment in this reflection. Awareness is simply the first step towards creating opportunities for growth and resilience.
Now that we've explored how resilience develops and some of the barriers that can get in the way, let's talk about practical strategies adults can use to support resilience in children and adolescents. One of the first strategies is supporting emotional literacy. Emotional literacy means helping children recognize, understand, and express their feelings. When adults name emotions and validate experiences, children begin to develop awareness of their internal states. For example, saying something like, I can see you're feeling frustrated, helps children and adolescents connect their emotions to language. This awareness is foundational for emotional regulation and coping. Another important strategy is allowing appropriate risk and independence. Children build confidence and resilience when they have opportunities to try things on their own, even when success is not immediate. This might mean letting a child struggle with putting on their shoes, solving a problem with a friend, or attempting a challenging task. When adults provide support without taking over, children learn that they are capable and that effort leads to growth. Using language that promotes growth and coping is also powerful. The words adults use shape how children interpret challenges. Instead of focusing only on outcomes, we can emphasize effort, strategies, and persistence. So, for example, saying, you worked really hard on that, or what could you try next, encourages problem solving and resilience. Another key strategy is modeling calm problem solving and repair. Children learn how to regulate emotions by observing adults. When adults remain calm during stressful moments, talk through solutions, or acknowledge mistakes and repair relationships, children see what healthy coping looks like. Modeling does not require perfection. In fact, showing how to recover from mistakes can be one of the most powerful lessons. Finally, creating a consistent routines and expectations provide a strong foundation for resilience. Predictability helps children feel safe. When children know what to expect, their nervous systems are more regulated, which makes it easier for them to handle challenges when they arise. Structure and consistency support both emotional security and independence. Together, these strategies create an environment where children can experience challenge with support, which is exactly how resilience develops. Thank you for taking the time to listen in and watch our session on building resilience in children and adolescents.
I hope that you found this time together helpful, useful, and again, appreciate you taking the time to listen in. Take care.